Well, it could be a ghastly story. We'll find out. Werner Stark is a longtime member of our Toastmasters Club, Pikes Peak Toastmasters. He joined the first time in 1978. Some of you may not have even been born by then. After he moved here from Virginia. Back then, he was a member for only 2 years because the travel for his job made him miss too many meetings. He rejoined Pikes Peak Toastmasters after he retired in 1998. Werner is known for speaking on varied topics from his forced exodus as a 10-year-old from his homeland in Sudeten, Germany after World War II, to trekking in the Himalaya mountains, to nuclear physics and MRIs. Today, Werner will speak on the topic, Where There's Smoke, There's Fire, Colorado Wildfires. Please help me welcome Werner.
Thank you, Craig, fellow Toastmasters and guests. On October 17th, our 11-year-old granddaughter in Boulder called us and said, "Can we come to stay at your home? The fires are getting closer than we ever saw before. I want to show you what she was seeing at that time." Just a minute. Get a little closer here. I'm sorry. This was October 17th, just not very long ago. And they saw this fire. Not too far away, 18 miles north of Boulder. But that was not the only fire that was burning. A little further north, there was another fire, the Cameron Peak Fire, which covered an area of 200,000 acres. I mean, the city of Colorado Springs has a size of, Colorado Springs has about 125,000 acres. So that fire at Camden Peak was twice the size of the city of Colorado Springs. How ghastly a fire that was, you can imagine. So today I want to tell you about some of the fires that we've had here locally in this area. The first one was the Hayman Fire, which was in 2002, just to north of Woodland Park. It covered an area of 18,000 acres, caused a tremendous amount of destruction. And you know, they found out who set the fire. It was a worker at the Forest Service. Can you imagine? She was out there in the woods burning a letter from her estranged husband. I don't know what she was doing, but the forest was just like a tinderbox ready to explode. Enormous amount of damage. The second fire I want to talk about is the Waldo Canyon Fire, just on the other side of the ridge here in Colorado Springs, towards Woodland Park. There was a trail there, the Waldo Canyon Trail, and some of us, in fact, have been hiking on that trail. It's a beautiful trail, but somebody made a huge mistake there and caused a fire that just erupted on that whole other side of the slope. The wind was really terrible, and so it blew the flames across the ridge over to our side. It went down Queens Canyon, which is over there by Glen Erie, and then it blew north to Mountain Shadows. It destroyed 354 houses, as well as the Flying W Ranch, which was a little further north. Our esteemed Vice President of Education, Greg Williams, had a rental house in Mountain Shadows. It was burned to the ground. What a ghastly situation. The third fire I want to talk about is the one at Black Forest. It's just on the other side of I-25. It covered an area of 14,000 acres. 509 homes were destroyed in that fire. Can you imagine? 509 homes. That fire was also human caused. They were able to find out. They didn't know who or how, but they're sure that it was human caused. So all three fires that we had here had human caused fires. So what can you and I do to help prevent such ghastly things from happening? Well, right after the Hayman Fire, there was a big study done. What can be done to improve this situation? And they came up with a whole set of guidelines to help anyone to try to minimize the fires. The Forest Service has quite a few guidelines available. One of the principal guidelines is that you have to get rid of the underbrush that's under the trees, pine trees, because it just adds more fuel to the fire. Any house that has a pine tree next to the house, that pine tree has to be cut down because it really puts the house in danger. When they had a fire at the Mountain Shadows, there were lots of firemen out there putting out fires, but they only focused on the houses that they thought they could rescue. Any house that had a tree next to it, they just had to let it burn down. Other guidelines are fairly obvious. The Forest Service, for example, they cut a big swath of free land so that if there's a fire on one side of that swath, it can't jump over to ignite the other properties, the other land. And the most important part is that if you have a letter from your lover or ex-husband or ex-wife and you want to get rid of it, don't burn it in the forest. Tear it up and put it in the trash can. That's good enough. So it really leaves it up to all of us to work hard to minimize any fires that can explode. Just remember what Smokey the Bear said, only you can prevent forest fire. Remember that? Only you can prevent forest fires. So I hope that our children, our grandchildren will be able to enjoy the beautiful forests that we have here in the area for a long time, just the same as we have been able to enjoy it. And hopefully we'll be able to enjoy it from here on out. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.